So a viewer writes in, "Hey David, how do I combat feeling overwhelmed?" Man, this is one of the reasons I love this channel, because these viewers submitted questions. They're raw, they're real, and they're relevant, okay? And so in this video today, I'm going to offer seven words and 3 tools to help you resist the overwhelm. That's coming up today on My Virtual Mentor. Hey my friend, it's David. I lead men to go further, faster in their faith in Jesus Christ. And if you're new to the channel, man, welcome. I'm so glad that you found us. You know, every single week we just take on questions that viewers like you submit about the practical nuts and bolts of the Christian faith, just basic life skills. Because here's what I know. Not every man had a biological or spiritual father who invested in them, you know, just how to do certain things, whether it's tie a tie, drive a manual transmission, change a tire, shake a hand, let alone, you know, how do I take communion? How do I read the Word of God, have a prayer time, hear the voice of God, and all those kinds of things? Well, we're going to take on the spiritual aspect of that for men just like you on this channel in these videos. So if that sounds of interest to you, man, I'd love so much if you'd hit that subscribe button. And as a way of saying thank you, I'd like to invite you into a 21-day challenge. Well, what the heck's a 21-day challenge, right? Listen, it's a power tool to jumpstart positive change in a man's life. If you want to do one with me, just wait until the end of the video, and I'm going to show you how to do that 100% free, 100% virtual. Stick around, okay? All right. So, David, how do I combat feeling overwhelmed? Great question. Let's get into it. Okay, well, let's take a look at 7 words that combat feeling overwhelmed. Okay, and here's we got some ABCs. You know, I just want to keep things super simple, as short as possible in these videos. I know you got things to do and places to go and people to see, right? So we're going to have just some ABCs to keep things simple. Here's the first word, and then I got some ABCs for you. First of all, it's the word perspective. Okay, perspective. You know, I don't know who said it, but things are rarely as bad or as good as they seem, either one. That's the right perspective, okay? Here's some A's, B's, C's. Letter A is we're all in this together, okay? You know, look, there's these nasty T's. You know, everybody has trouble and trials and turbulence and tribulation in their life, right? And trauma, yeah? And temptation and tests. Okay, that's a lot of T's, but you know what? All these words describe your life, my life, our life. We can't escape that, okay? Letter B is, you know what? It is what it is. You know, if you got diarrhea and you can't skip out of work and your car won't start and your cell phone battery's dead, you know, it is what it is. You just got to cope with it and deal with it and move forward, okay? Sometimes it just is what it is. You just got to have a great attitude and move forward, okay? And the letter C is, you know, don't forget the Jesus factor. I'm going to put 3 statements on the board here that I think is going to help you. First of all is God is with you. You know, he told Moses, my presence will go with you and I will give you rest. Then God is for you. Look, if God will be for us, who can be against us, right? And lastly, God is in you. This is the mystery of the ages. Christ in you, the hope of glory. I'm telling you, it's the Jesus factor. And this is going to help us to combat feeling overwhelmed if we'll meditate on that. Here's the second word, and that is simplify. Simplify, okay? Letter A, do first things first. We're talking about priority. Jesus talked about this in Matthew 6:33. Look, he says, seek first. Well, that implies that there's a second and a third and so on, right? Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all these things will be added to you as well. Listen, I would argue all day long, when you get up in the morning, go into the secret place, seek God first, get into the Word, get into, you know, a YouVersion devotion plan, you know, spend a few moments in prayer, you know, and just go from there. Start at 15 minutes and work your way up a little bit, okay? but seek first the kingdom. Letter B is, get the right things done. People that are productivity gurus will tell you this. It's not just important to get things done. It's important that you get the right things done. And this speaks of priorities and things like that. And so, all things are not equal, right? Not all tasks are equal on your to-do list. There's this epic battle between the important versus the urgent. And we deal with this every single day of our lives. And I'll just tell you this straight up, that not every call, text, email needs to be, even read or returned. You don't need to return these, invest time in that. In fact, I like what this person said, I don't know who said it, but he said, meet with people who deserve your time, not demand your time. Okay? Isn't that a beautiful statement? Not everybody deserves your time, because time is the commodity that we have limited in supply. And here's letter C, and that's just say no. Just say no. And toward the end of this, I have a fabulous resource that's going to help you with this. A whole chapter in a book I'm going to recommend on how to say no diplomatically and tactfully. You'll want that resource. Here, number 3, the third word is focus. Oh, this is a beautiful word. In fact, my friend Chris Joyner says, where focus goes, power flows. I don't know if he's the original one that said it, but I heard it from him, so I'm going to credit him for that. But this is so true. Letter A is, tell your problems to get in line. Listen, don't let them bum rush you. Everything rushing in at once. Make them line up in single file line. We're talking about combating feeling overwhelmed. You're just going to have to take on one thing at a time. And, the way I'm told lion trainers, train lions into submission is they have a 3-legged stool and, they make those loud noises with the whip or whatever. Since the lion, he's looking at 3 different legs of the stool, he can't focus on one. His little, brain is not focusing well, and that's why they can get him into submission. And so we need to focus, right, and tell things to line up. Letter B is, create your alone zone. You need some space. You need some space where there's no notifications. Your device is it's a servant, not a master. You're going to be uninterrupted, so you can critically think, you can creatively think, you can deeply think. You need this alone zone. You're going to find that place, okay? I love this Chinese proverb. It says, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches neither. Okay? All right, letter C, and that is, harness focused energy. Harness focused energy, And, the classic example of, the magnifying glass out in the sun, literally, if you just hold that thing still, you can ignite a piece of paper. It will combust only if you hold it still. If you keep moving it, it won't. But if you hold it still, you can harness the focus of the sun's rays. And that is the power of focused energy, okay? So there you go. Here's the 4th word. It's a delightful word, and that is delegate. Delegate. In fact, I'm just arguing you should discover the delight of delegation. That's letter A there. Here we have in Luke chapter 22 an example where Jesus, he was a great delegator. He told Peter and John, I want you to go into the city. I want you to find this room and prepare us the room to eat the Passover meal in. See, he delegated things all the time. And, the second thing is invest time, don't spend it. And we're talking about delegate. You say, well, I don't have time to train somebody to do my thing. I can do it quicker than I can teach them to do it. Let me give you an example out of this out of my own life. So I was the business manager for a church, and I used to put out the tithing envelopes, in all the pews. Back before we had all the online stuff and whatnot, we used tithing envelopes. And it took really about 50 minutes to an hour to go get those and then just individually stuff them in there. So I think I'm fine. I'm glad to do anything. Clean toilets in the church. I don't care. I'm just serving God in any capacity, fine with me. But I thought, is this really the most wise use of my time to steward? And so I recruited a volunteer, and I trained her how to do it. And then after that, I never did it again. She was faithful, wonderful Christian woman, great volunteer for the church. And every hour that she did that was 1 hour that I was able to win back and do something else that only I could do. Okay, so that was helpful for me to overcome and combat feeling overwhelmed myself. So letter C is get more done in less time. I'm just telling you, there's some resources you can follow. I'm going to give you a podcast to listen to here at the end that can help you to absolutely have an action plan to combat overwhelmingness and get more done on less time. Okay, here's the next word. Number 5 is balance. Oh, this is a beautiful, brilliant word. Okay. And this is what, cheetahs and the big cats and the big predators are trying to do out on the Serengeti when they're chasing down their prey, trying to get some groceries. They're just trying to flick that back leg to get, the gazelle or whatever they're chasing to get out of balance and fall over. Because if you're out of balance when something's chasing you, out in Africa, you're going to die. Okay, and this is what the enemy tries to do. He tries to go about like a lion, seeking whom he may devour. He's trying to trip you up and get you off balance. Okay, he's trying to get you suffocating with being overwhelmed and discouraged and disoriented and depressed, right? And so I love what A.L. Williams said. He says, look, all you can do is all you can do, but all you can do is enough. Come on, just sit with that for a moment. Here's some ABCs. I'll just make some statements here. A balanced life is a blessed life. Oh, yes, it is. When your checkbook's in balance and your body's in balance and your pH is in balance and your marriage is in balance and your kids are in balance, this is a good thing. Even your tires are in balance on your car, right? Letter B is a blessed life is a balanced life. Oh, yes, it is. They're interchangeable and they're absolutely true. And then letter C is audit your priorities. We need to do an audit of how we're living our life, what order we're living in from time to time so that we can resist the overwhelm. Here's the 6th word, and that is plan. And I just got 3 ABCs for you here. A is create a simple plan. Letter B is work the plan. Letter C is the plan will work. Our problem is we generally don't plan things out sufficiently. And that's why I like to do a weekly preview. I'm just kind of, every Sunday, man, I am looking ahead for the week to come, and I'm just trying to get everything in order on Sunday. After church, after lunch, I'm doing a weekly preview, and then I try to do a weekly review at the end of the week. Okay, let me look in the rearview mirror, so to speak, and how did I do? What worked and what didn't work? What adjustments and tweaks do I need to make? And I'll head into the next week stronger and wiser than the week before. Okay, last word here, and that is consecrate. And my goodness, for Christian men, this is an incredibly important word. And I'm just saying, let's just dedicate ourselves to God. I mean us. This is Romans 12, verse 1. It says, therefore I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to present yourself, to offer yourself as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Let's give ourselves to God, guys. Letter B is commit your work to God. This is right out of the scriptures. Proverbs 16, verse 3 says, commit your way to the Lord and he'll crown your efforts with success. Don't you want the work of your hands to be successful? How about we just pause and pray and present it to the Lord? And he said, I'll respond to that. If you loop me in, I'll help you. And then letter C is leave the results and the glory with God. At the end of the day, all we can do is all we can do. We plant the seeds, but it's the Lord that brings the increase. Unless the Lord builds a house, they labor in vain that build it. Here's a great scripture out of 1 Corinthians 4, verse 7. I'm just going to paraphrase it. It says, what do we have that God hasn't given us? And all we have is from God. Why act as if we're so great, as though we've accomplished some great thing on our own? We can't take the glory, guys. The glory rests with the Lord. Okay, as promised, here's some To Go Deeper resources. I think these are really going to help you. First of all, I'm going to put the link in the description below to a message that I spoke and taught called Managing the Letdown. Okay? This is really strikes in on that feeling let down and overwhelmed. Okay? The second one is a podcast by Michael Hyattj. I'm a big fan of him. I follow the Lead to Win podcast. But this is one on, resisting overwhelm, and here's an action plan in which to do that. Okay? And then the third one is a really powerful book by Greg McKeown called Essentialism. It's really about the discipline of saying, of doing less. And that's where they have the chapter of saying no. I've read this book. I need to read it every single year over and over again. Okay, so that's 7 words that will combat feeling overwhelmed. Let's review them real quick. Okay? And the first one is perspective. Second word is simplify. Number 3 is focus. 4, delegate. 5, balance. 6, plan. And 7, consecrate. So here's our big idea, and that is do the basics well and receive the peace that Jesus gives. How about that? Okay. Okay, so hey David, how do I combat feeling overwhelmed? Well, that's my take on it. I'd love to hear your take on it. Why don't you share that in the comments below? So I've got a question for you. Are you up for a challenge? Remember I mentioned a 21-day challenge earlier at the start of this video? Well, listen, I call it Launch with David. I'll put the link in the description below. Remember, a challenge is a power tool to jumpstart positive change in any man's life. It's 21 consecutive days of some really powerful things that are field tested with hundreds of men. It absolutely, totally, completely works. And listen, man, to get what you've never got, you're going to need to do what you've never done. I'll give you an opportunity to do that 100% online, 100% free. Click the link, Launch with David, check it out. Okay, well listen, leave a comment below, and I do read all the comments. For now, I am David, your virtual mentor, reminding you that I'm always for you. I'm never against you. I'll see you in the next video.